Hello everyone, this is Momin. Let me introduce my brushes which I use in this demo. This is a Chinese calligraphy brush, and this is the Rosemary and Co. size number 16 mob brush, squirrel mob brush. I use it all the time in my paintings, even in the small paintings I use that. It has a nice fine tip on it. This is the round brush from the local store, number 4, I believe. Yeah. And this next brush is again round brush, and it's size number 6. This is a liner brush from Rosemary and Co. Extended Point Series 46. Nice brush for the small work. Dagger brush from Rosemary and Co. Half inch. Use it all the time. Love those brushes. This is a round brush from Rosemary and Co. Size number 8. Nice brushes. This is a liner brush from the local store, and yeah, use it a lot. This is for highlights and for small work. Yeah. Now let me introduce my palette. First color from the left is a cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, French ultramarine blue, cobalt turquoise, cerulean blue, purple, cobalt purple, Naples yellow, burnt umber, cadmium orange, burnt sienna deep. I use it all the time. It's a nice color. Yellow ochre, cadmium red, orange deep, cadmium red, raw sienna, burnt sienna deep. Actually, this is burnt sienna deep, and that's cadmium yellow, quinacridone gold from Da Vinci. This is sepia, Da Vinci cadmium yellow, Hansa yellow from Da Vinci, Prussian blue from Da Vinci, phthalo blue, red shade, green shade, phthalo blue, Viridian from Da Vinci, cobalt. Actually, it's a cobalt green, indigo, Payne's gray from Da Vinci, red rose deep, alizarin crimson. This is the phthalo green. This Naples yellow. These are Van Gogh colors. Raw umber, raw sienna, azo yellow, permanent red, vermilion, maroon perylene. That's quinacridone rust. And this is the red iron oxide, transparent red iron oxide. This is the Daniel Smith color, was a blue color. I don't know exact the name of it. This is a QOR color, quinacridone gold, green gold. This is transparent orange, dioxide purple, quinacridone magenta, very strong colors, cobalt teal, very strong color, nice colors. You use small amount. Okay, let me introduce the colors which I recommend. Cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, French ultramarine, cobalt turquoise, cerulean blue, burnt umber, sepia, yellow ochre, burnt sienna deep, cadmium orange, yellow ochre, Payne's gray, vermilion, and these two colors, bright red from Van Gogh. So these are the colors which I recommend at least you have to have in your palette to do any kind of work, right? So yeah, these this is a cadmium yellow, Naples yellow, nice color. I use it all the time. Mix it with the Naples yellow from there's two Naples yellow, as you can see in the palette I just showed you. And if you mix Naples yellow and cobalt turquoise, it gives you a nice green, very turned off type of green. You get it from by mixing Naples yellow and the cobalt turquoise. French ultramarine, if you mix burnt umber, yellow ochre, give you a nice colors too. Alright, let's get started. Before I do further, let's do the first wash. This is a mix of cerulean blue and cobalt blue. I use using number 16 Rosemary and Co. mauve brush. I don't stretch the paper usually. I just use the start working on the dry paper. Just put some water. If I want to make my washes to be even, I just put some clear water and then I use the colors on it. That give me a nice and even wash. Try to keep your whites open if you can. If it is too difficult, you can leave it. You can leave them, and at the end, you can use the opaque white, the titanium white, to do the highlights on those spaces. Sometimes it's really the drawing is so tiny and it's hard to keep the white open of the paper. So what you do, you just go over it with the first wash, and then when you finish the painting, use the opaque white, which is a titanium white or Chinese white, opaque color, and then you can bring out all the highlights after you finish the painting. Now I'm using the yellow ochre. I mix it up with some Naples yellow, just going roughly on those buildings and distant building and houses, and I try I mix it up some French ultramarine, and it makes it little bit green, which I don't like it. I really like to get some kind of earthy color, so I picked up some raw umber that was in my palette made by Van Gogh. So as you can see, I'm dragging my brush across the paper, which leaves some sparkles on the paper, which is the white of the paper from the then whenever I don't need to keep the white open of the paper, I just go put my brush hard on the paper and not to worry about those white transparency of my paper. As you can see, this is a mauve brush number 16, but same time, if you notice, I can do a small fine work with that brush also, because it when you load your brush, it makes it a fine tip, and then you can start using with a small work also by holding the brush straight up. I use some I mix it up with some burnt sienna deep. As you can see, it bring out a little bit orange color in my mix. I mix it up with the raw umber to just tone it down. Too bright, that burnt sienna deep. Too orangey. Keep the paper towel in your hand, because you don't want to look for paper towel all the time, and time is everything in watercolor, so you need to have the paper towel very handy, or you just put it beside it with your palette or with your canvas or beside where the water containers are. I prefer to hold it all the times, and so I can control my water and my brush. If I need to use the dry brush, I just take it out some water by the paper towel in my hand. If I don't need it, I just keep going working. As you can see, that brush holding so much water and pigment, I don't need to go back and forth. So if I have to do one mix for few things, I don't need to go back and forth. It has so much to serve in that brush. I can go long way on that on the canvas and keep working. Actually, I make some French ultramarine, so give me a nice blue color. Just a variation. Too much yellow ochre, too much burnt sienna, it start getting boring, so I introduced some French ultramarine. Now I'm putting the same mix with some burnt sienna and cadmium orange mix with the French ultramarine, so I can have a nice gray color, nice cool gray color. Now I'm making a small boat at the far distant across the waters. Again, you see that the point of the brush, I can do a small work with the same brush. If you notice, I didn't even change the brush, and I'm just using the same brush. I finished the sky. Now I did the background with the buildings and small work. Now I did the boats. I don't need that mix anymore in my brush, so I just clean my brush. And now I'm gonna work on the water. I had the mix from the previous, from the sky. I mixed it up with some green color. As you can see, I drag my brush so it leaves some sparkles. I don't need to uh, just drag the brush across the paper, and you see automatically it bring out those sparkles on the water. Keep dragging my brush. I'm using I don't use so much water. If I use more water, then it becomes I don't get that sparkle. See, I put some water, so now the wash is more flat, not dry. I purposely put some water in my brush, so now you can see there's no sparkles unless I really dragged it fast across the paper. So I'm cutting those boats, try to preserve the transparency of the paper, keep those boats open. I'm not painting on those boats, so I can work on them later on, not disturbing the washes on the waters. This is the challenging part in the watercolor. There's two things. If you can control, if you can preserve the transparency of the paper, and if you know the timing, how fast the wash is dry, if you don't pay attention and by mistake if you start working on one side of the painting and you just start working on the other side without, and once the wash is dry, then it's really hard to make it up, to bring the soft edges back on the paper when you're painting. I kind of sped up the video, so otherwise it would be too long and boring. So as you can see, I mix it up a little bit yellow ochre because the water is more greener at the edge of the beach or the ground, because it's a shallow water, it's not deep water. So I introduced some burnt sienna here, deep burnt sienna, some French ultramarine in my foreground. As I can see, again, I'm dragging my brush to keep the white open of the paper so I could use it later on. Too much overwork sometimes is not good. If you think it is too much, it's getting dark, just walk away from the painting, let the painting dry, because the watercolor, when it dry, it get lighter. Some pigments, even though they dry, they don't get lighter, and but most of them get lighter when it dries. So walk away from your painting, come back after 10-15 minutes, and then check what's the result of it. Okay. Painting is almost like halfway, and the first washes are done, most of it. So at this stage, I let the painting dry a little bit, and then I now start working on the almost dry surface. Basically, the second layer I'm doing on the painting. As a matter of fact, what I will do at that stage, I most of it I'll be doing the doodling on my painting. Basically, I would say watercolor sketching. So I'm using my dagger brush, the pointed side of my dagger brush, and try to bring out some detail in the painting. As you can see, I was using the other brush, the mob brush number 16, and now I'm using that dagger brush to painting all these boats and small things here and there, which bring out the detailed part of the painting. Too dark, not very good. If you use a black color in your painting, it shows right away. So try not to use the black right out of the tube. I would always recommend try to mix your blue and the red, the burnt sienna and the ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, or French ultramarine and the burnt sienna. Or maybe you can mix alizarin crimson and any of the blue, maybe fellow blue with red shade. It gives you a nice purple, dark purple color for the dark values and for the detail part. As you can see, I'm working very roughly, just barely working on those distant boats. So main focus in this painting is the two boats in the foreground. I'm not worried about too much background, although it is important for the painting, but just a suggestion, not too many details you have to put on the background. Try to keep the background more for loose style, and then you can do in the front, in the foreground. Like this painting is more focused on the foreground, two boats, a few figures here and there. So as you can see, I'm putting more emphasis on those the boats and the figures. Now at this stage, I'm mixing raw umber, burnt sienna, and try to bring out some detail in those background. around the buildings, the houses. all you have to do just on your sketch, make sure where the light is coming from, and block those part that the light is not reaching that part. And if you do that right, your painting will be start glowing. I mean, like things are look more detailed and 3D type. If you use those dark values in the right place, and if you have a sense of light, where the light is coming from in the painting. Always plan your painting before you start painting. If you're using a reference photo, don't paint everything from the reference photo. Try to bring some change in the reference photo. Put your own stuff in the painting. I'm using a little bit French ultramarine, and I'll mix it up with the cadmium orange. Bring some grays, different value of the grays. I don't want to block exactly the dark, but just try to keep it cool grays, warm grays in the background. Variation in the color scheme. If you use one gray all the time, it doesn't look really good, because the white surface has a different type of if you have light is not exposed to the white surface, it has different color of shadow on it, and so that's why I use sometimes Persian blue on the white surface where the casting shadows on the white surface. I use Persian blue. Persian blue is a good color for casting shadow on the white objects in the painting. Or you can try your own, but it works for me. That's why I have Persian blue in my palette all the time. And it's a very nice color too. A cool blue, has a green shade on it. So in the background, working on those small buildings, I introduce some palm trees. It's all other part of the process of the painting. You more interest in the painting, more energy in the painting. Bring some trees, bring some buildings, bring some figures, birds in the painting. So you can energize the painting, and painting looks more active, busy painting as this one. Create more interest in your painting. Keep working on those in the background. mixing up. I mixed up a dark gray by mixing up cobalt blue and a burnt sienna. Some figures in the other boards also. As I mentioned earlier, it's just all doodling right now. Basically sketching in watercolor, bring out the detail in your painting. But the first wash is the most important wash. If you make mistakes in the first wash, then the whole painting probably not going to look too good, no matter what you do. Now I'm working on the foreground, try to bring those rocks in the front, casting shadows. It's difficult to work on the rocks, and not because their shapes or sizes or whatever, but it's so many. You have to work really hard to bring out the detail, especially the one here in this painting. I shouldn't put so many. I have to work on to bring some detail on those rocks, so creating some casting shadows and all that with the mix of burnt sienna and cobalt blue. You can use any of those two colors, ultramarine, burnt sienna, French ultramarine, burnt sienna, or you can mix your purple with any of the red and the blues. As you can see in the painting, the light is coming from the right side of the painting. So in the background, the houses, the front of the houses and the side of the houses, whichever facing toward the light, it exposed and it's more lighter. And the side, let's say this house on the left, extreme left, is facing toward the light, so the front of the house is lit up. So I didn't even use any paint or anything. I just used the paper white and I left it as is. And on the side of the house, I put some mix of burnt sienna and yellow ochre. Some figures in the background. Well, the figures in the background, as you can see, they're so small. It gives you the perception of the distance between the foreground and the background. So it helps you scale your painting also. Always remember the proportions are the most important part of the painting also. If the figures are too big in the background, it's not gonna look very good. Or maybe the figures in the foreground, if they're too big and the boats are small, it doesn't make sense. So you have to be very careful. The boats and the figures are proportionally, directly proportional to each other. So the size of the boat and the figure has to make sense. And any other thing, they're all connected to each other. So if you making a figure or making a mass on the board, or you making anything, any part, or maybe a pebbles in the front, or rocks in the front or the foreground. So it's all directly related to each other. Once one thing is out of the size, then the whole painting will not look very good. So you have to be very careful with the proportions also. Now I'm using some opaque white, as you can see, for the highlights, and I'm using my liner brush. So if you put some lines on the water, it gives a nice feeling of shallow water. I'm using a bottle of poster color, which is really opaque white. They call it poster color. I'm not sure. It's not a watercolor. It's a poster color I'm using here. Actually, the bottle is in my other hand, and just keep dipping my brush in that bottle. It works really good. You could use the tube also, titanium white or Chinese white. All of them works really good. I will try to show you all these supplies in the next video, like I did with my brushes, and I will show you all my supplies, what I use in the videos. I by mistake smudged some green color in the foreground, so I'm just trying to cleaning it up. Don't worry if you drop something, or as long as the paint won't dry completely, you still be okay. So if you can lift the paint just by put some clean water where you dropped it. As you can see, the green color almost gone, but what I did, I just put some French ultramarine, which is a transparent blue. It gives a nice feeling of a shallow water on this side of the rocks. Always have plan B if you work so hard all the way in the painting and you drop something, or then you have to have something in your mind how to fix it. Now I'm putting some white, opaque white. to give the illusion of a shallow water here. As I said earlier, try not to do overwork anything. If you think it's some part or some section of the painting is getting out of control and you're not satisfied with the results, just leave them work on the, either walk away or come back after 15 minutes or maybe work on the other side of the painting, or you think it's not finished yet, or and then come back after 10-15 minutes, and if you think that part is still needs some work, then rework it. I use the finger also to clean up the extra paint I put it, or I don't like the stroke. I just wipe it off with the finger, which is okay, as long as it doesn't look too bad. It drops. Brush. Actually, I spilled some water on the painting. I'll try to fix it. Not because of I dropped something. The sky, I felt like it's too light. It doesn't have the punch, so now I'm gonna rework on the sky again. What I did, I put some clean water. If you put a clean water on the dry wash, it doesn't do too much unless you put lots of water. But as you can see, I put some water, and now I'm working with I put some cobalt blue, and bring some variation, more variation in the skies. And I will get away with that water. I dropped it at the right side of the painting. I have a cerulean blue in my palette, so I'm mixing up with the cobalt blue, making this guy a little bit more darker. It helps the dark sky, helps the houses and the building in the foreground also. As soon as you put dark background, the building and the houses will be more exposed to the eye. And it's very important. You have to to know where you have to have dark values in your painting, where you have to have a light values in the painting. So it's all part of the painting process. So as you can see, I'm putting more dark, try to bring that dark the blue, cutting through those houses and buildings on the background. Actually, it helps. Otherwise, before it was kind of blending. The houses and the skies were kind of blends in, but now the houses in the foreground background is more exposed, more now more contrast in the painting. I put some washer with cerulean blue. Now I'm using the mauve brush, number 16 mauve brush, which I earlier mentioned is good for the small work and covering the larger spaces in the painting also. Painting is almost finished. Skies are done. The foreground looks good. Background, houses. I'm doing a small work on those boards, putting some opaque white, because the back of the boards are exposed to the light, so I was just putting some white opaque to bring more depth in the painting. Okay guys, that's it. I guess the painting, now this is the finished painting. I will talk to you in the next video. Thank you. Hope you like the video. Please subscribe and like this video. If you have any question, comment, please leave the comments in the comments below, and I will answer your question. All right, take care.